Welcome back everybody. Today is a sad day to be a retro handheld enthusiast, especially in the world of emulation with these tariffs. Now there are a ton of other videos going over what this means for you and what exactly is happening, but I'm going to keep this very simple and tell you what 3 systems I think every retro handheld beginner should own. So these are the 3 systems that I would buy if I haven't already, so let's get started. To get straight to the point, here are the choices for best beginner devices, and we'll go into each one and I'll explain why. The first one is MIUI Mini Plus, the second one is the TrimUI Smart Pro, and the third one is the RG35XX SP. Now you can disagree all you want, this is my opinion, and I think these are the 3 that every beginner should highly consider as their first handheld. Now here is why. First, the MIUI Mini Plus. It's extremely easy to use. It has one of the best custom firmware around. Onion OS is amazing. It has tons of aftermarket customizations to keep things fresh and unique, and it has great price to performance ratio. Second, the TrimUI Smart Pro. It's the best horizontal budget device bar none. I think it is very well built. It does not feel like a budget handheld at all. It has great controls and feels very comfortable to hold for those longer play sessions. It has a ridiculously amazing screen, and CrossMix OS is perfect for beginners as the UI is easy to understand and use. Third, the RG35XX SP. It has one of the best clamshell designs. It's the most portable as the screen is always protected. It can connect to a TV via HDMI out. It has great price to performance ratio, and it captures nostalgia the best in my opinion. Now we can go into every spec and data spreadsheets, but I feel that there are enough videos out there that cover all of that, so instead I'm going to talk about my personal experiences with each device and explain why I chose these 3 as the best starter handhelds. When I first got my MIUI Mini Plus, it was actually through a secondhand store, OfferUp, and I got it used. I got this device for $40 US. Chances are there are many more of these out there that you can find used at this price point, if not cheaper. The first thing I noticed was how much better this device felt than its little brother, the original MIUI Mini. That was actually my first handheld, and it became soon apparent that apart from it being a really cool piece of tech that's great to show to friends, it's not the most ideal handheld to use. The small size made it hard for me to really sit back and enjoy games, and the build quality was horrendous as the screen was falling off. The MIUI Mini Plus, however, feels like a proper handheld, much like the Game Boy Pocket, and I was instantly in love with this device that I took the time to find the best upgrades for it. Over time, I got the better aluminum D-pad from Etsy, giving this console the best D-pad ever. Better than any of my other systems, and I do own quite a few. The buttons were just an aesthetic choice as well as these custom stickers, but after all of these customizations, I really felt attached to this device as it was super unique to me. I found myself playing mostly GBA and GB games as the button layout was perfect for those systems. The next thing wasn't something that was apparent at first as I didn't have any other handhelds to compare it to, but after owning multiple other devices, I can now say that Onion OS is one of the best custom firmware options around. The UI is clean and there are a ton of themes available. It's so easy to use that this is the device of choice my wife plays on, and she had zero experience when it comes to gaming. Out of all the other devices that I owned, she picked the MIUI Mini Plus and finds this specific system the easiest to use and navigate. The game switcher mode makes it easy to shuffle in and out of multiple games, and the overall experience is fantastic. So if you're someone who is looking for a solid device to get your feet wet into the world of emulation, you really can't go wrong with this device. The screen quality and sound quality is great, but let's say you're someone who's looking for a device that feels less like a toy and more like a refined piece of tech that won't break the bank. That's where the TrimUI Smart Pro comes in. This device shocked me. Upon taking it out of the box, it was clear that TrimUI put a lot of thought into its creation. The device feels solid, and the subtle LEDs around the joysticks are a beautiful touch. You can find these on AliExpress for less than $70 US, which is an insane bargain as this device is much more powerful than the MIUI Mini Plus. The drawback is the size, making it a little bit less portable. However, as it's a bigger device, you will get much more screen real estate weight and it's much more comfortable to hold for longer playtime sessions. This device really allowed me to dive into DS games as the wider screen made it much more ideal than a vertical handheld, and the extra power was a welcome addition. In the end, I found myself playing not only Game Boy Advance and Game Boy games, but more DS and PlayStation 1 games, and even some PSP games thanks to the dual joysticks. Do keep note, this device will struggle to play PSP perfectly, but it wasn't unplayable. I enjoyed Wipeout and God of War along with GTA Chinatown Wars at 1x resolution without any big issues. But it's the PS1 games that really shined on this device. It just felt more natural to play with this vertical form factor, as the R1 and L1 shoulder buttons were much easier to press and I didn't get hand fatigue as I do with vertical handhelds. If you're someone who is looking for an handheld that can play up to PSP games and your main use case is PS1 games, then this device is a perfect beginner device that won't break the bank. Lastly, the RG35XX SP. Now, this device is probably my favorite device out of the bunch, and the reason is simple. The clamshell design plus HDMI out makes this the perfect device to bring on long trips and vacations, as it's not only super portable and the screen is always protected, but the fact that you can hook this thing up to a hotel TV and my wife and I can play N64 multiplayer locally is just insane. This for me is the specific device that gets the most of my attention, not to mention there's something so nostalgic about this device. Gaming on the couch using a wireless controller and playing classic games like Final Fantasy VII or Mario Kart 64 is just an experience I thought I'd never get to relive, but the RG35XX SP makes it super easy and accessible to do just that. It opens up a whole new way to enjoy emulation with other people, and there are many classic co-op games that are perfect for couch co-op sessions. Apart from that, the device feels very well built, more so than the MIUI Mini Plus, and the amount of customization options out there is pretty much on par with the MIUI Mini Plus, minus the ability to switch out the D-pad. This device can be found on Alibaba or even secondhand stores like eBay and offer up for less than $40 as of now, which is an insane value. Not to mention the ability to have 2 memory cards, which can expand the amount of games you can hold, meaning you can theoretically hold the entire gaming library from PS1 and below if you buy 2 large micro SD cards. There are many themes out there, including my own theme, which I think is the best, but that might be my own bias, but just look how slick this thing looks. I found myself playing mostly GBA games when playing alone, and tons of N64 games when docked to a TV monitor with friends. With these 3 to choose from, you're keeping your options simple enough that you won't get too overwhelmed when trying to make that first purchase, and you can just ask yourself these 3 questions. First, what systems are you most interested in emulating? 2, are you going to be using it for travel? And 3, will this be your last system? If you're into 16-bit games and below, and you're not traveling much and you just want one system and nothing else, well, I'll go with the TrimUI Smart Pro. Are you interested in only PS1 games and PSP games? Then obviously the TrimUI Smart Pro. But are you traveling a lot and you want to play multiplayer games? Well, maybe look into the RG35XX SP. Will this be your last system? No? Well, then get the MIUI Mini Plus, as I think every collector should own this system. In closing, there are so many devices out there, and if you're someone who wants to maybe play something more powerful like the PS2 or GameCube games, then you're just gonna have to increase your budget, unfortunately. The Retro Pocket 5 and the Odin 2 Pro are great options, but those are over $200, and they're probably gonna get even more expensive as these tariffs continue. These 3 options are the absolute best systems under $70 and even under $60 if you search hard enough. With one of these systems, you'll be able to jump into this amazing hobby of emulation and enjoy hundreds of games that are ready to be played. Once you make that choice, you'll need a good starter guide, and there are plenty of other great resources out there. My recommendation would be Javi Retro Plays, who has a great RG35XX SP tutorial, or Russ from Retro Gamecore. Those are 2 creators that I learned so much from, and I think they're the best bet when getting started. I hope this video shed some clarity to a daunting task of choosing your first system. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing, as I constantly put videos out that covers everything retro gaming and beyond with a cinematic touch. And if you're looking for something even more pocket friendly than these 3 systems that I just suggested, then you're gonna want to watch this next video coming up right now.